Hello, welcome to the Whimsy Stamps YouTube channel. My name is Tammy, plays well with paper, and today I'm guest designing for Whimsy Stamps. I made this set of sympathy cards using the Sympathy Bouquet 2 quick card fronts. Let's take a moment and talk about some of the items you're going to need to make these cards. Of course, you're going to need some quick card fronts. I'm using the Sympathy Bouquet 2, as I said, and the Bouquet 2 has kind of a light gray and kind of a grayish green tone for them. And there's another set, the Bouquet 1, that has purples and pinks. They both have beautiful floral motifs and they come with some sentiments. So, I really love the florals that Whimsy chose for these card fronts. They're gorgeous, but they didn't just choose florals. They added some details like the cracked backgrounds, kind of some areas that are worn away to give age, and then even adding some text on the fronts of some of the cards. So they just have a really beautiful vintage look to them with the floral sprays. Now, these could be used for all kinds of things. They don't have to just be sympathy. You could use them for birthdays or tea invitations. I mean, look at this one. It even looks like it has a little gilding on it. But you can use them for even just thinking of you cards, anything that you would like, but I just think they're elegant and beautiful, and they make such lovely cards to give to friends. Now, this set not only comes with the wonderful card fronts, but you also do get some sentiments. So you get two cards with the same sentiments on them, but in two different color schemes, and you just need to cut them apart and you can put them on the front of the card and you're good to go. Of course, I wanted to add a couple of extra things to the card, and one of those is the Wonky stitched rectangle dies. So this die is going to serve two purposes for me in keeping these cards quick and easy. I'm going to be cutting each card front with the die, and that will make the card front a little bit smaller so that I can have a mat around the outside edge, which I'll talk about in a minute. But it's going to serve a second purpose, and that is that it is also going to put that faux stitching around the outside edge of each card, and that's going to save me a lot of time because I won't have to machine stitch around my card fronts. Now, the next thing I wanted to add were these beautiful stamps that were released last fall for Halloween, the Exquisite lace stamps. They are so beautiful, and they're red rubber stamps, so they hold up really well. And there are three sizes. So one of the sizes, the large one, is a little too large for most of the card fronts. I'm going to be sticking with these two at the top mostly. Um, but I think they'll add just the right amount of detail. And I don't want to stand out too much, so I'm going to use Distress Embossing Glaze when I stamp them. The Distress Embossing Glaze is a translucent embossing glaze, and so it doesn't cover up what's underneath it. It actually kind of just adds a little bit of shine and a little bit of translucent color, and I think it will be just the perfect addition to some of the tops or the bottom of the card. Now, for those mats I was talking about earlier, I've chosen Ideology Craft Stock in metallic. These are the metallic colors, and they have a beautiful rose gold that I think goes beautifully with the lighter gray cards. And I think that those will really frame them well. And then there's this light blue that will be perfect for some of the greenish blue card fronts. And then there is a very light sage green that will be perfect as well. So I'm going to be using that for my mats. And that's pretty much all the extra things you will need. So let's go ahead and get started making our cards. I began by inking up the stamp with clear embossing ink, and then I am adding on this one, because it looks like it has some gilding, I added some of the antique linen distress glaze, and you just have to heat it just until it turns translucent. You don't have to heat it for very long, and then you can see it adds just that beautiful little bit of gilded lace. Now, this one on top that I'm adding, for the rest of them, it didn't have much of the gold. It had more of the gray. And so I switched to the Lost Shadow Distress Embossing Glaze. And there you can see that that gray adds just a little touch of elegance, but very different from the antique linen, which has more of a gold undertone to it. All right, well, I didn't think that you needed to watch me do all of the stamping, but a reminder, I used clear embossing ink, and then I used either antique linen or lost shadow on the backgrounds just to add a little detail. So as you saw on this first one, I stamped with the medium-sized lace, and I used the antique linen and added just a little bit of gold lacy detail to that one. The next one, I stamped the top and the bottom with the medium size lace in Lost Shadow. And you can see again, just adding the tiniest bit of detail. I just love how the translucent color adds some elegance, but it doesn't overwhelm the card. Even this one where I used the large lace on it in Lost Shadow because there wasn't really an image in the middle of the card, it still just adds just a little bit of detail, but it doesn't overwhelm the card in any way. On the green cards, I used the medium stamp on that one with antique linen, but the rest of them I used the more delicate lace. And this one I used across the bottom. And so really in person, you can see it and you can feel it, even though it doesn't really stand out in the video. This one, I added the delicate lace across the top, and I really think that's just gorgeous. I love the way it looks. And for this one with the sconce, I added on the top and the bottom for just a little bit of a border. Now let's talk mats. Remember, I picked the metallic craft stock for my card mats, and I needed to age it just a little bit. So I reached for my ground espresso archival ink and a blending tool. And I went around each of the metallic mats with the archival ink. And I don't know if you can tell from the video, but the one on the left has the archival ink on it. And I just think it looks a little bit more aged and that it will fit better with the card front. Now, for the card fronts, I went around those and the sentiments with walnut stain distress ink. And look at how well those fit with the blue and the pink now. I just think that was the perfect little touch to age them and make them fit with the elegant backgrounds. Well, here they are. And so as we look at the finished product, don't you think that that aging really just pulled the whole card together? And then with that little bit of elegant stamping across the top, and I even matted each of my sentiments, trimmed down the one with deepest sorrow. And I think that the whole thing just pulled together beautifully. Even that faux stitching from the die. Now the next one with the gilding on it, I used the sentiment, May you remember all the love. And that was the one that had that little bit of antique linen gold on it. Now this one had the stamping at the top and the bottom. And then the beautiful sentiment, our thoughts and prayers are with you. Now this one with the details at the top and the bottom, I stamped through the center and put my sentiment in the middle. Heartfelt condolences for your loss. The gray-green cards had the blue and green mats on them, and I know I got the sentiment crooked on this. I can fix it very easily. But across the top, I have that delicate stamp in antique linen, just adds a beautiful, elegant touch. This one with heartfelt condolences for your loss, and the stamping at the bottom doesn't really stand out on the video, but it is there, and it's really lovely in person. This third one has the green mat, and our thoughts and prayers are with you. And again, with the stamping across the bottom that you can see in person, just adds a little bit, like I said, of that elegance. And then our last card with the delicate stamping across the top and bottom and with deepest sorrow. Well, these gorgeous card fronts really did make it so easy to make 8 beautiful, elegant cards that I can send to someone who is in need of just knowing that I'm thinking of them and praying for them. So thank you, Whimsy, for these lovely card fronts. I want to thank you for watching and ask that if you enjoyed this, if you will give us a thumbs up and please leave a comment. Let us know if you've used the quick card fronts before and what you think of them. We'd love to hear from you. And we want to make sure that you subscribe to Whimsy Stamps on all the social media platforms: Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, and here on YouTube. Make sure that you hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of the new products and great inspiration.